Good evening, everyone. We're holding the middle of Perek Mem Daled.
Page what, 126?
Page Samach Gimel, no, opposite of page 124.
Oh, I see. We're in the middle?
Towards the bottom. Well, when we start saying inside, I'll give you the exact line. Okay. So far we're talking over here, we're the larger sugi over here again is the sugi of Avas Hashem. And we've discussed so far that there are two madrigas in Avas Hashem, two general madrigas in Avas Hashem. There's Avas Olam and Ava Rabba. Avas Olam is a love for Hashem, which is born out of one's hisbodinus, out of one's contemplation of Hashem's greatness. And the gather of this Ava, the definition of this Ava it's defined as an Ava which is created by the person. And then there's another level which is called Avas Olam, which is not a level of Ava, which is not a love for Hashem which is created by the person. It's a love for Hashem which is accessed by the person. It's really a gift.
It's there all the time.
Right? It's there all the time in a hidden way. So in Perek Mem Gimel we spoke about how this Ava, the Ava Rabba, is the highest level of Ava Rabba is that if someone, a person who is Shalim B'Yira, a person who is complete in his Yiras Hashem, so that Ava is given as a matana. In other words, that person is able to experience the depth of a love which is at the essence of the neshama. And here in Perek Mem Daled, Alter Rebbe introduces us to two different levels of hybrid Avas. In other words, Ava which include in them elements both of Avas Olam and of Ava Rabba. Because on the one hand, it's a love which is not created, it's a love which is natural. But on the other hand, in order to be able to arrive at this love, it takes hisbodinus. We arrive at this love through being misbodin, through contemplating that particular area. So the first idea that we spoke about, the first level of Ava we spoke about last week, is the Ava which is called of Nafshi Ivisicha. That we love Hashem, why? Ki v'haftas Hashem alikecha, ki hu chayecha. We love Hashem because He is our life. He is Chayei Chayim Hamitiyim. Hashem is the life of all life, and He's certainly our life, and therefore we love Hashem because He is our life. So just like someone has a natural love for life, we all love our own life, although we don't usually stop to think about it. But when Rahman al-Islam, when a person is in a situation where the life is in jeopardy, or when a person is ill, or when a person is starved, then that desire for life and that love for life really comes to the fore. So the same thing is also when a person contemplates the idea that Hashem is nafshi, that Hashem is literally is my nefesh, He's my life, then what we arrive at is ivisicha, an intense desire for Hashem, to the point that, as we discussed last week, the middle of the night, mechap tzachuf and shlaf, you wake up in the sleep, you're saying, oi, I need to connect to Hashem. Hashem is my life. I've been disconnected from my life for a few hours by sleeping, and the person gets up, and out of great love for Hashem, studies Torah until the morning. So that's one level of love. So that's a hybrid love, because on the one hand, the love that we have for life is not a love which we create. It's not logical even. Why do we love it? Why do I love my life more than I love your life? Is that logical? There's no logic to it. It's a natural, inborn, innate instinct which we have. So that's the Ava Rabba element of it. But on the other hand, how do we arrive at this love? And we can actually arrive and feel a love for Hashem, and feel that Hashem is our life. How do we arrive at that? By contemplating the idea that Hashem is our life. So therefore it's a hybrid type of love. And then the Alter Rebbe continues and says that there's an even higher level of hybrid love, and that's the love of kibra de ishtadel, like a child who endeavors on behalf of, as we discussed last week, on behalf of his parents, the love that a child possesses for his parents, which is even more than the love that the child has for himself. So that's a greater love than Nafshi Ivisicha, because Nafshi Ivisicha is, I love Hashem because I love my life. So how much do I love Hashem? As much as I love my life, because He's the provider of my life. But a child loves his parents more than he loves his own life. So therefore, if we love Hashem because Hashem is our Father, Kiata Avinu, because Hashem is our Father, then it turns out that our love for Hashem is even greater than the love we have for our life. So therefore, the love of Kibbrat Ishtadl, like a child to a father, is even greater than the love of Namshi Ivisicha. But once again, this is also hybrid love. Because why do children love their parents?
Could have been
They
provided.
don't, you're saying.
He doesn't know why he loves his parents.
When I say children, I don't mean a 1-year-old. I'm talking about why do Bonim love their, why do children
We
love their
appreciate
parents? What?
I appreciate it.
It's more than that. Yes, it's true that we appreciate our parents for all that they've done for us, but it's more than that. You have stories of people who were reunited with their parents. You know, they were ripped away at birth and they're reunited after with a father
30.
after 30, 40, 50 years, and there's a tremendous emotion and love. What for? What for? Where's that love coming from? There's a natural love that you have for family in general. You have brothers and sisters torn away and they meet. Why is that logical that you should love a brother? They should love a sister? And the love for parents is even greater than the love that we have for our siblings. And that's something, yes, it's true that, I'm not saying that it's illogical, that it doesn't make sense, but the love transcends logic. The love between parent and child and parent transcends logic. Why do I love my parent? Because this is my parent. So therefore, this is not, so we're not talking about a love which we create. We don't create it. We're tapping into this love. But still, that's the Avarabba element. But the Avasalam element is the fact that in order for me to be able to relate to Hashem as my father, for that I need to be misbeinin. I need to think into how Hashem is my father and really contemplate that and think deeply into that. So therefore, it is my hisbeininus which is allowing me to tap into love, which is why it's also called a hybrid love. Now, as we mentioned, this love is called Kibra de Ishtadl. This is borrowed from the words of the Zohar, the Raya Mehemna, which is talking about Moshe Rabbeinu. It talks about the love of Moshe Rabbeinu for Hashem. That how much love did Moshe have for Hashem? Kibra de Ishtadl basar avoy v'imay, like a child who's mishtadl on behalf of his mother and father in order to, when they are in captivity, in order to have them released from captivity. As it says in the Zohar, in the words we learned last week, that the child loves the parents more than he loves his own body, more than he loves his own soul. And therefore, as the Zohar says, although the words aren't quoted over here, that even he'd give up his life in order to have his father and mother released. Now this is the love of Moshe Rabbeinu. And as we all understand, that the ability to love Hashem on this level, this is a very high madrega. That a person should actually be able to walk around on a daily basis with a love for Hashem which surpasses the person's love for himself. We know that the deepest love that we have is for ourselves. So, Mela, the Avav Nafshi V'Sicha, we're talking about the first level. I love Hashem because He gives me my life. Okay? So I'm not loving Hashem more than my life. I love Hashem because He gives me my life. So that's something which is more practical and more shaykh for all of us. But to reach a madrega of Ava, where our love for Hashem is that I love Hashem more than I love myself. For those of you who have been here for a little while, maybe you remember that in Perik Yud of Tanya, Reuven, you were here, Perik Yud? Okay, so you probably remember this. That in Perik Yud and Tanya, the Alter Rebbe there talks about the level of tzaddikim. And within the level of tzaddikim, he says there are two levels of tzaddikim. This you probably remember. There's a tzaddik. What are the names of the two levels of tzaddikim? The tzaddik v'toiv and the tzaddik v'rale. Also known as the tzaddik gomer and the tzaddik she'eni gomer. Now, as we all know, a beinoni is a very high madriga. Beinoni is a high madriga.
What's the last beinoni?
A beinoni is someone who's never done avera, a person who's in a state where he has there's no impression of any avera upon him. If he's done avera, he's completely removed any of it from him, and he's in such a strong state that that there's no avera that he will do, no temptation and no nisoyin, no test will be too difficult. But then on top of a beinoni, there's a tzaddik. A tzaddik is something else entirely. A tzaddik is someone who serves Hashem with incredible love, with incredible joy, doesn't struggle, has no struggles. And within tzaddik, there are two levels. There's a lower level of tzaddik and a higher level of tzaddik. And we have to understand that even the lowest level of tzaddik is something which is incredibly high madriga. In the higher level of tzaddik, the Alter Rebbe says, regarding this, the Alter Rebbe says, that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says, the Gemara is brought on that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai said that Re'isi b'nei aliyah v'hein mu'atim, that I've seen elevated people, b'nei aliyah, elevated people, and they're very few. Very few. He says, if there are two of them in the world, it's me and my son. If there's only one, it's only me. That's what he said. This is Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, right?
It's not God.
So b'nei aliyah is the madrig of a tzaddik gomer. Tzaddik gomer is a ben aliyah. Why? Because the avoid of the tzaddik gomer is one that is l'tzorech gavaya. Everything he does is not for himself. He's not serving Hashem because he wants to quench his thirst, and he needs to have a connection with Hashem, and he needs to, learn Torah and do mitzvahs because he's so thirsty for Hashem. That's the lower level of tzaddik. The higher tzaddik level of tzaddik is beyond that. Why does he do it? Why does he learn Torah? Why does he do mitzvahs? L'shem yichud kutchabrichu u'shchinte. He does it. Why? In order to connect kutchabrichu and shechinte, to make a dir b'tachtonim, just to fulfill Hashem's will, which is that in this world Hashem should be present. That's the Torah mitzvahs. There is zero ego inside it.
What's ahava Kadosh Baruch Hu has for us? It's ahava rabba ahavtan.
Right.
What kind of ahava is this?
Whatever ava we have for Hashem, multiply that by infinity, and that's where you get Hashem's love for us.
So which bigger? Tzaddik v'tovilo or tzaddik v'ralo?
Tzaddik v'toivele. Tzaddik gomer. Why?
Because he's under things that he's still a tzaddik in spite of the fact he has a very rough life. He's overcome that. No?
The tzaddik v'rale in Tanya is not about a rough life. Tzaddik v'rale means that there's still a little ra, which is completely batal.
I see.
But
I misinterpreted.
So what Alter Rebbe wants to describe the tzaddik gomer, the b'nei aliyah. Alter Rebbe says, what is the love of the tzaddik gomer? Kibra, the ishtadol, basar, avoy v'imay. This love, the love, like a child, that the tzaddik gomer, all the tzaddik gomer cares about is the Eibishter, right? We spoke about this once before, right? The v'neistim bi ahava reshus zalazeh lahaktish liyesram, like the malachim. You do it, I do it. It's not about me. It's not about you. It's only about the Eibishter. So it doesn't make a difference whether it's me, whether it's you. The tzaddik gomer, there's zero ego. His love for Hashem is beyond any love that he has for himself. That's the love of the tzaddik gomer. In other words, this madrega of kibrad shnadl, to be very clear, forget about that. It's not the level of the beinini. It's higher than the level of the beinini. It's even higher than the level of the tzaddik sheni gomer. It's even higher than the level of tzaddik virali. This is the highest level of ava possible to Hashem, which is that you love Hashem more than you love your own life, which is so counterintuitive. To love something more than you love yourself. Yet comes along the Alter Rebbe here in Tanya, Perek Mem Daled, after saying in Perek Yud that Kibrad Ishtadl is Madrega with Tzaddik Gomer, says the Alter Rebbe over here that this Ava of Kibrad Ishtadl is the hybrid love, which he's talking to us. He's not talking to the Tzaddikim. We're still learning Sefer Shal Beinanim, right? And yet here the Alter Rebbe says here, I'm going to present you with two levels of love. The first level is the Ava of Nafshi Ivisicha. Okay, we get that. I can love Hashem because He's my life. And then says Alter Rebbe, the other level of love, which I'm presenting you, is this love of Kibrad Ishtadl. So the obvious question is, really?
That's the madrig of Tzaddik Gomer.
It's the madrig of Moshe Rabbeinu. That's the madrig of Tzaddik Gomer, right? The Zohar, the Raya Mehemna, says that this is the madrig of Av of Moshe Rabbeinu. Let's do inside. Page Samach Gimel, which is opposite of page 124. 10 lines from the bottom. The last word in the line is who. Va'af, and even though who is the person? Asher arav liboy, whose heart can even imagine. Lageshes, to approach. Lahasig, and to be able to attain. Afilu chelik echad mini elaf, even 1,000th. Madregas ava shraya mehemna, of the level of the ava of Moshe Rabbeinu, the Raya Mehemna, the faithful shepherd. What are we talking here? We're having these imaginations of we're going to have a love for Hashem more than we love ourselves. That's the madrega of Moshe Rabbeinu. Can we even imagine having 1,000th of the love of Moshe Rabbeinu? Which gives us a little understanding. We're talking about Moshe Rabbeinu. So you think Moshe Rabbeinu, he's a great person. Okay, he's greater than me. No, says the Alter Rebbe, you can't even in your brain imagine, in your heart, what?
1 of 1,000.
Even one salva, a tiny little fraction. It would be ridiculous to imagine that you can have a 1,000th of the love that Moshe Rabbeinu had.
You don't have to starve to be like Moshe Rabbeinu. I want to be like the highest of the highest. It's good.
You should definitely strive to be like Moshe Rabbeinu, but you also shouldn't be delusional.
Okay.
Striving is always good. We should always strive. And if you strive, you'll get higher and higher and higher.
It's our goal.
But Moshe Rabbeinu the Eibishter didn't create everyone equally. It's not, we live in a democracy, and over here the foundation of everything is equality and freedoms. So you have freedom of speech and freedom of religion, freedom to be Moshe Rabbeinu, right? You have, today in society, you're guaranteed, you can be anything. This guy says, no, you can't. And you know what? If you work from today till tomorrow, and then another 20 years and 30 years, 100 years afterwards, you also won't be a Kohen or a Kohen Gadol, right? Yiddish guy doesn't believe in that. Everyone, which does, by the way, there's the famous word that Rav Zusha of Anapoli, it's very, very famous. He would say that when I come up to Shemayim, I'm not scared that they're going to ask me, why weren't you like Moshe Rabbeinu? Because that I can answer. What do you mean, why I'm not like Moshe? I'm not Moshe Rabbeinu, I don't have the neshama. What am I scared of? They're going to ask me? You know the word.
Like yourself.
Why weren't you?
What's his name?
What Zusha of Anapoli could have and should have been. Right? The Eibishter put you on this world, he doesn't want you to be Moshe Rabbeinu. He doesn't need you to be Moshe Rabbeinu. He needs you to be you and to reach your potential and to serve Hashem in your way, that's all. And let's not be delusional. Let's not be delusional that Moshe Rabbeinu is the greatest of the great. The Rambam, when he talks about Moshe Rabbeinu, he calls him Shleimus Minha Enoshi, the perfect human specimen. Perfection. Absolute perfection. And here we have in Tanya that Alter Rebbe is suggesting to us that we should try to have this Ava, Kibrad Yishtadol, which is the love of Atzad Gomer, which is the love of Moshe Rabbeinu.
It said about the Rambam, Moshe ad Moshe lo kam ke Moshe.
That's correct. Kol Makayim still, Harei Efes Katseyu, a tiny drop of it. V'shemetz minehu, a little smidge. Mirav Tuvay, from the great goodness of Moshe Rabbeinu. We know it says that when Moshe Rabbeinu was born, Vatera is say that Yechevet saw Kitoivu, that he was good. What does it mean that he was good? So what does Rashi say? Nismala Habai is Kuli Eira, the whole light filled with light. So Mirav Tuvay, from his great goodness, the Eira and his light, Meir L'Klalos Yisrael, illuminates to every single Yid, B'chol Der V'der, every single one of us. We have a little of Moshe Rabbeinu within us. K'moshe Kasav B'Tikunim, as it says in Tikuni Zayar, the Ispashtus B'chol Dara V'dara, that there is a Ispashtus, a ray of Moshe Rabbeinu in every single generation, Lan Hara Lein, which gives us light V'chulu. So therefore, you want to know how he's supposed to attain the love of Moshe Rabbeinu? This is a little similar to what we learned before about Das. All right, Atu Yira Milsazut Sehi. It's because every single one of us, Moshe is made a little within us, illuminates within us. However, Sha'arazu, with this illumination, it's very, very hidden. Yes, every single one of us has deep down within us this love for Hashem, Kibrad Ishtadl. Every single one of us has this love for Hashem and loves Hashem like a child loves a parent more even so than the child loves him or herself. But now our job is what? We have to just take this ava, which is hidden and which is concealed, and we have to reveal it. That's revealed in the heart and in the mind. Says the Alter Rebbe, it's not something which is impossible. It's not something which is very distant. Rather, it is something which is very practical. What does beficha v'vavcha mean? So we know the pasuk says, the pasuk upon which Tanya is based says, in a practical sense, Moshe, this is before Moshe passes away. This is in Parshas Nitzavim or Vayelach. I think Nitzavim, Moshe tells the Yidden, you should know, that these mitzvahs I'm giving you, it's not something which is impossible. Rather, it's something which is practical, something which is actionable, it's doable. In your mouth, in your heart, and to do it. So therefore, the Pashup Pshat is, the Moshe is saying, the mitzvahs that are in the heart, the mitzvahs that are b'dibur, such as Talmud Torah and Tefillah, and also the mitzvah Lasosei, all the mitzvahs, whether they're mitzvahs that are action-based, whether they're mitzvahs that are speech-based, whether they're mitzvahs that are emotion-based, all of them are something which can be done. But what's interesting about the pasuk is that the order, Beficha uvilvavcha la'asosei, and the order doesn't seem to make sense. The order over here.
First the heart and then the mouth.
Well, and you can have min hakala lakavet, which means you go from the easiest to the hardest. So what are the hardest mitzvahs to do? Is the ones in action or the one in the heart?
In the heart.
The one in the heart. So you could do lasoisoi, beficha uvavavcha, right? Action, speech, and then heart. Or if you want to start and say, I want to start from the highest one and go to the lowest one, you do heart, speech, action. But beficha uvavavcha lasoisoi, in your mouth, in your heart. And to do it, which means speech, emotions, action, there doesn't seem to be any logical order to this. So earlier on in Tanya, Dr. Rebbe, he gave a partial answer. The answer he gave was that the reason why you have to have Bilfavcha Lasoyisei together, the heart, in other words, heart and then action, emotion and then action, even though that emotion and action, they're really the two extremes, there should be, whichever order you're going in, speech should be in the middle. But the reason why you have Bilvavcha Lasoyisei is because what is the function of Bilvavcha? What is the purpose of the Ava V'yira? The function of Bilvavcha is to bring you Lasoyisei to do mitzvahs. The purpose of Avas Hashem is to bring you to do mitzvahs aseh. The purpose of Yiras Hashem is to bring you to abstain from mitzvahs leisasa. And in general, we also learned Yira also, every single mitzvah has two wings. We talked about this, the Godfin, the Avas Hashem and the Yiras Hashem. So the purpose of the Bilvavcha is to, first of all, get you to do the mitzvahs, and not only to get you to do the mitzvahs, but the Bilvavcha, the heart, becomes the neshama of the mitzvah, and helps it fly above, as we'll learn more as we continue. And it's more than that, Alter Rebbe says. Bilvavcha Lasoyisei also tells us, how much emotion do you need to have? Just as much as needed to Lasoyisei. Even if your heart isn't ablaze with fiery emotions, that's fine. As long as you have emotions, which are enough, Lasoyisei, to get you to Lasoyisei, you're good. So we understand why you have to have Bilvavcha Lasoyisei, why those two are put together. Because the heart is supposed to lead straight to action. But now, but we still do, what is the beficha of Bilvavcha Lasoyisei? Why doesn't it say Bilvavcha Lasoyisei beficha? Why beficha Bilvavcha Lasoyisei? So here the Alter Rebbe is going to answer the first part. Now we're going to explain why it is beficha Bilvavcha. We already explained why Bilvavcha Lasoyisei. What is beficha Bilvavcha? Says the Alter Rebbe, how do you arouse emotion? Beficha, with your mouth. By speaking. You want to have an emotion that Hashem is your Father? Talk about that all the time. Talk about that. I know my shver, that if you're with him for more than 20 minutes, a half an hour, every once in a while he says Tata Zisa. Talking to the Eibishter, Tata Zisa, Father. And this is mamash based on the Tanya which we have over here. You want to ingrain in your heart and have the emotion that Hashem is your Father. Talk about it. Talk to other people about it. Talk to yourself about it. Today we have this idea, the power of affirmations, of saying things, right? So today you go to say you love yourself, say you're worth it, say all these things. But these are really things that can be used for avodas Hashem. You want to ingrain within your heart that nafshi v'sicha, that Hashem is your life, chaya chayim, Hashem is your life. Talk about it. Talk about it. The more you talk about Hashem, the more you talk about how Hashem is the source of your life, the more that you talk about the fact that Hashem is your Father, the more you're going to arouse your feelings. Bechsidim, they say that this is really merumas and a pasuk in Hallel, where it says Ha'amanti, I believe. Why? Ki adaber, because I speak about it. So when a person's feeling a chalishus in the heart, in the emunah or in the feelings, speak about it. The more you speak about it, the heart is mu'edir. In other places in Chassidus, it's explained that human beings are called medaber. Without getting into the whole arichas of why we're called medaber, I think we've spoken about it once in the past. but there are actually very deep reasons why the human being is distinguished by the koyach hadibur. And because we are called medaber, and therefore our neshama is called the unkelus when he says v'hi adam nefesh chaya, so unkelus translated leruach v'malala. So therefore dibur is connected to very, very deep. The dibur and the neshama is connected to a very, very deep place. That's why it's brought down also one of the reasons why we have to, when we learn, we have to speak. That sometimes when you speak what you're learning, then you're able to bring down ideas from a very, very deep part within yourself, which when you were just thinking about it, it never occurred to you. And then while you're speaking about it, the chavrus, or you're giving a shir, suddenly something comes to your head from a deep place, and that's because the dibur is rooted in a very, very deep place in the nefesh. And perhaps that's related to what it's saying over here also, that when you speak about it, that is mo'ir, the avat Hashem, and that has an impact on the emotions. So now we have the whole package deal. We understand beficha uvavavcha lasaisai. Beficha, speak about it. What is that going to lead to? What is the beficha going to lead to? The bavavcha, that you will have feelings. And the bavavcha leads to lasaisai, leads to ma'aseh mitzvahs. So that which seems to be a strange order, beficha uvavavcha lasaisai, now we have, it makes actually perfect sense. Where does everything start with? With speaking about it. Speak about it. And there's certain people who you meet them. They're always talking about Hashem, and they're always talking about Hashgacha Pratis, and they're always talking about Hashem's Chesed. It's something which they're constantly talking about. And it's something that we should get used to. We should get used to talking about Hashem, how Hashem is the provider, Hashem gives me my life, and Hashem is my father. Chayim Amitim. And those words have an impact on ourselves.
Mesilas Yesharim says that the Hitzonios are the feelings.
Right, actually, and even before the Mesilas Yesharim, the chinuch kachs in this very much. I actually wanted to check it out before shir. If I remember correctly, it's in the mitzvah about Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim, and where he talks about why it is that we're supposed to, why is there this big mitzvah to actually speak about Yetzias Mitzrayim, and he talks there at length, and he revisits this again in many other mitzvahs. In fact, I wanted to look it up to get the lashon, I forgot, before class. But you have a chinuch there, I think it's like a mitzvah, is it mitzvah Tazayin maybe? Yeshukreach. Okay, so Mitzvah Tazayin talks about the idea, he talks about, Achra Pulus Namshachas Alavavis, that's over there. There he's talking more about our actions impact our heart. But he also talks about it when he gave to the mitzvah of Mitzvah Sipis Yusay, Mitzvah Chaf Aleph. So he refers back to the mitzvah of Korban Pesach. Okay, I'm not finding it right now, but I'm pretty sure that he talks about this. The idea that how when you speak, it impacts the heart. Akapanim. So therefore, the whole beficha lavav chalasaisai, it actually runs things perfectly well. Yeah. In Chabad, there's a lashon. I think it comes from the Rebbe Rashab. That I think that before he would say a maimer, he said v'yihiratzen sheyifalu hadvarim bi uvahashemim. That it may be the will of Hashem that the words that I say have an impact on me and on the listeners. Which also, again, brings out this point. What do you mean? To have an impact on him?
He knows it all.
He knows it, right? But when you say it, the hope is that it also,
Even better for himself.
that the deeper right will have an impact, right? Okay, the Hainu, let's do the first word on page 126. The Hainu, it should be something which is a standard thing, regularly on a person's tongue and a person's voice, in order to awaken the kavan of the heart, the kavan of the heart and the kavan of the mind. And this causes a person to think deeply how Hashem is our life. He's the life of all life. Kihu avinu mamish amiti. Hashem is our real Father. Mamish our Father. Umakar chayinu, and the source of our life. And this causes a person to be me'eder to Hashem. The ava ka'avas haben el ha'av, like the love of a child to the father. When a person gets used to this, used to speaking like this and used to thinking like this, so that which is famous, that which he become used to becomes second nature. So, are we talking about having the full love the way Moshe Rabbeinu does? No, not even a thousandth, as he said. But at the same time, if we take the time, because we actually do have it inside of us. Why? Because that's a gift from Moshe Rabbeinu. So deep hidden inside us, we have this love for Hashem, that Hashem is like our Father. And if we put our mind to it, and we talk about it, and we think about it, it'll become our nature, it'll become our second nature. Does that mean we're like Moshe Rabbeinu? No. But at the same time, we can somehow in our heart have that type of feeling also. Obviously not in the level of a tzaddik, and obviously we are not going to be at the point where we truly love Hashem
Like
more than we love ourselves. But if we think that way, we start to feel that way, and we experience a taste of that avon of kibrad dishtadl, the love of Moshe. But are we Moshe? No. Is it real? You know, I'm thinking I love Hashem more than my life. Do I really love Hashem more than my life? Even if I think that way, and even if I get used to thinking that way, and even if I feel that way a little, is it real? Maybe not. So if it's not real, what's the point? Says the Alter Rebbe, and even though it seems to you that it's your imagination, it's not real. Yeah, you're feeling it in your heart a little. But is it honest? Is that feeling mamish honest? Are you really loving Hashem more than you love yourself? Says Alter Rebbe Lo Yachush. Don't worry about that. Keep on doing it. Keep on talking. Keep on thinking. Don't worry. Why? He's going to say two reasons. First of all, it's not false. It's true. Why is it true? Because that's really how you do feel. In other words, if this was a fake thing and only imposed upon you, then you could tie it and say that it's not real. But the truth is that it is real. So at the end of the day, all you're doing is putting in the bookend. The inside of you, Taka, feels that way. And now all you're making is that your outside should be consistent with that hidden feeling you have inside you. So therefore, even if your heart isn't totally bought in, whatever feeling you have is real, because it's true to who you are and to what your real Ava is. That's number one. Number two, so 1 second. So then a person might ask themselves, okay, so on the very inside of me, in the hidden place, there it's true and it's real, that love that I have for Hashem. What then is the point of me also introducing it to my heart in a way which isn't totally real, which is dimyonis? No. What is the point of bringing this out revealed in the heart also, even if it is only a dimyon? It's kedei lahavia lidei maisa. Because the love, as you have inside of you hidden, it doesn't cause you to it doesn't bring you to action. The point of every Ava is what? Of every Avas Hashem is what? Is that you should serve Hashem with Torah mitzvahs. The love which is hidden inside you is not going to bring you to learn Torah and do mitzvahs because it's hidden. So therefore, the point of speaking about this love and also trying to introduce it and thinking about it and trying to introduce it in your heart, even if it's not 100% genuine, but ultimately that's going to get you to learn Torah, do mitzvahs, to give Hashem nachas like a child who serves his father. Valzeh Amru, and regarding this, Chazal said, Machshava Teiva, Kadosh Baruch Hu Mitzarfa L'Maisa. Li is Gatfin L'Parcha Kenal. Okay, so this is something which we talked about in Perek Tazayin. We also again talked about it again in Perek Mem. But there's a Maimer Chazal that says, this is one of Sassan's favorite Maimari Chazal, that Machshava Teiva, Kadosh Baruch Hu Mitzarfa L'Maisa. You go back in the videos and you find how many times Sasson says Machshava K'Maisa. That's one of his favorite Maimari Chazal. But the actual lashon, the actual words is Machshava Teiva Hakadosh Baruch Hu Mitzarfa L'Maisa, which is a strange lashon. What does the word Mitzarfa mean in Hebrew?
Put it together.
Puts it together, right? Now, if Machshava Teiva Hakadosh Baruch Hu Mitzarfa L'Maisa is only the simple understanding, which is that when a person has a good thought to do something, and then for reasons beyond his control he couldn't do it, so Hashem considers it as if he did it. So the lashon should have been Machshava Teiva Ma'ila Alav Hakasuv Kilu Asa, right, or something along those lines. But what is this nekuda of Mitzarfa L'Maisa? So the Alter Rebbe explained in Perek Tazayin, and again we revisited this again at a later point in time in Perek Mem. He says like this, that as we know, every time that a person has Ava and Yiram, the feelings in the heart, you found it. Okay, so it was right. I was looking at mitzvah, but it was okay. He says, this is back to what we were talking about earlier. Even when you are by yourself, there's no one else there. This is talking about the mitzvah of Sipur Yitzis Mitzrayim. You have to, what if you're alone? You still have to articulate the words, so that your heart should be awakened, because through talking the heart is awakened. So that's mamish what the Alter Rebbe is saying over here. Yes.
It's a mitzvah also to say stories about.
But why? In other words, the chinuch always gives the reason. The chinuch is he gives the timing of the mitzvahs, the reason, the spiritual reason of the mitzvah.
That's the second mitzvah you said?
It's mitzvah chaf aleph. No, there are two, because there's one mitzvah tezayin. There's achrei pulos t'mshachas alavavis. That's mitzvah tezayin, and that's the mitzvah I believe of Korban Pesach. And then this is mitzvah chaf aleph, which is the mitzvah tezayin shaloi lishber etzem and Pesach. That's where he says the achrei pulos t'mshachas alavavis, and then. And then chaf aleph is talking about dibur. So those are the two mitzvahs. But this is a theme which is revisited many times throughout the chinuch. This idea of both achrei pulos t'mshachas alavavis and also about the idea that speaking is ma'ir the kavana. So ma'ir the leiv. So where were we? Kadosh Baruch Hu Mitzarfa L'Maisa. So the idea is like this: that every time as we learned already, the ava and yira that a person has, that which cause him to do a mitzvah, that ava and yira actually enters the mitzvah, becomes the neshama of the mitzvah, and as we'll talk more about Hashem next week, actually causes, those are also the wings of the mitzvah. It gives the mitzvah a spiritual identity, it makes it a holier mitzvah, and it allows it to fly up to heaven.
But let's see what.
And why is that?
How do you?
Because
let's say you notice you couldn't do the mitzvah, but you had the machshava.
Okay, so the pashup shot of that Gemara is that the taka, if you're honest, the Eibishter considers it. But the fact that Maimer Chazal uses that peculiar language is because there's also a deeper message hidden inside there. Yeah.
I was thinking something else. Kadosh Baruch Hu Mitzarfa L'Maisa. If you think it is a mitzvah, you couldn't do it. Kadosh Baruch Hu Mitzarfa, you make it like a double mitzvah for you.
Mitzarfa, okay.
Yeah.
Shivim Panam Latera. So when you do a mitzvah with Avos Hashem and Yiras Hashem, so the Ava and Yira enter the act. As we know, when you do something and you have passion, excitement, feeling, or reverence, fear, awe, the act becomes animated and becomes alive with the mitzvah. What if you only have a machshava teva? What if your heart is not so excited, but in your mind you're thinking the idea is just your heart isn't getting so excited? So really, that machshava teva doesn't naturally enter the mitzvah and become the neshama to the mitzvah. So that's what we say, machshava teva hakadosh baruch hu mitzarfa l'maisa. Hashem takes that machshava teva and he sticks it into the mitzvah, makes it into the neshama of that mitzvah. Says the same thing over here, says the Alter Rebbe. Even though you might think that your love isn't so it's demyonis. It's not so real. It's only a machshava tova. It's not a real love. In your mind, you're convincing yourself it is. Don't worry. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Mitzaref Al HaMaisa, that love, Hashem is going to take it. Hashem is going to put it into the Maisa and make that right. And that will be the Godfin, and that will be the wings Laparcha to fly up. Kinis Kalil, as mentioned earlier. And why are we doing this? So the love for Hashem as a father, because He's our life, is v'nachas ruachu. We're doing it to cause nachas to Hashem, to cause nachas to our Father, or cause the nachas to the one who gives us our life. Hu kimashal simchas hamelach. It's like the mashal of the simcha of a king mebenoi, from his son Sheba love that comes to him b'tzeisim beis asurim canal. That when he leaves jail, captivity, as mentioned earlier in Perek Lamed Aleph. In other words, we've spoken about this in the past. The incredible simcha that Hashem has when a yid does a mitzvah, because we're all in jail. You know, you talk about Kislev is the Chag HaGeula. The theme of Kislev is Geula. And at least Akapanim and Lubavitch, you have the Chag HaGeula of the Mittler Rebbe and Yud Kislev, and the Chag HaGeula of the Alter Rebbe and Yud Tes Kislev. And as we mentioned tonight, Rosh Chodesh Kislev is the Rebbe's in a way Chag HaGeula. The Rebbe was able to, and because Chassidus is very into this idea of Pada B'Shalom Nafshi, of the idea of leaving captivity. We're all in captivity. Captivity in the hands of the Yetzer Hara. Chazal actually say on the pasuk Pada B'Shalom Nafshi, I think it's a Gemara Masechtas Brachas, but I might be wrong on that. The Kala Eisek B'Teira U'Gemilas Chasadim U'Mispal L'Matzibur, whoever learns Teira and does Gemilas Chasadim and davens with the minion. So the Eibusher says, Harizeh Ki'ilu Pada'ani Li Livni Mebeina Ummas, as if you redeemed me. Pada B'Shalom. Hashem says, as if you redeemed me. Why? Because we are all in Galus, and Hashem is also in Galus with us, right? And every time we learn Torah and we do a mitzvah, we're going out of this galus, we're being reunited with Hashem, like a prince that's in jail and captivity, and it's released to go back to his father, the king. So when we do a mitzvah, that's what we have in mind. Hashem is our father, Hashem is our life, and we want to give him nachas, we want to give him that joy. Or whether our goal is to give Hashem the nachas by us reuniting with him, every one of us is the prince, or we want to give Hashem nachas because by doing a mitzvah, we create a dir b'tachteinim, k'niskar lil, as mentioned earlier in the prakim beforehand. Till now we're talking about the love of kibbra dishnadl, and also earlier we're talking about the love of nafshi v'sicha. Also, in terms of that love, Kardav Hadavar Miyoid, it's very close, Leitzia Mehalam Alagili, also to reveal it from its hidden state to revealed state, Alideya Hergel Tamid, Befiv Vili Beishavin, through the mouth and the heart being the same, in other words, speaking that way and then feeling that way. However, what if you can't? You can't reveal it in your heart. You think, and you can't reveal it. Still, you can learn Torah and do mitzvahs l'shma yitzir inyan avazu b'machshavash b'meichai, by envisioning this ava, envisioning the idea that Hashem is your life, Hashem is your father in the machshava in your mind. Machshava tova kadosh baruch hu mitzaref v'chulu. And here too we say Hashem will take that machshava and He'll make it into ma'aseh. And this is a very important point we've learned up to this point, which is that we have to know that there are certain truths, not truths in the world, truths within us, our truth. Our ultimate truth, our deepest truth. And our deepest truth is that inside us, deep in our neshama, we love Hashem. We have this incredible love for Hashem. Why? Because Hashem is our life. And we love Hashem because He is our Father. And we have to tap into those truths. We have to work, be misboinen. Think about these things. Think about these deep truths that are inside us and act upon them. And also try to feel upon them. I know that's not exactly us, so we don't use those words. But we try to make that our feelings should be consistent with what's going on deep inside us, our feelings and our actions. And even though you might think, my feelings, they're not really 100% real, and maybe I'm having illusions and I'm pretending to be a tzaddik, it is real. Why is it? Because that's really what's going on deep inside you. So it's fine. It's fine to be mizboinen and to try to think about it and have these feelings, even if it's not as real as by Moshe Rabbeinu. You have to know that deep inside you, you have that feeling just like Moshe Rabbeinu. The difference between you and Moshe Rabbeinu, that feeling was also revealed in his heart and in his mind, and by you it's not that way. But that is the depth of your reality. That is the truth. And now we just have to make that our mind and our heart should start feeling a little like that inner truth that we have. I want to conclude with something a little about the parsha, and just a little of a funny story that happened with me. So the story happened around 22, 23 years ago. And that year, the Kinnes HaShluchim was on Shabbos Parshas Tolos. And last week we spoke about the Kinnes HaShluchim. Usually the Kinnes HaShluchim is Parshas Chayesara, but once in a while, every few years, the Kinnes falls out on Shabbos Parshas Tolos. I wasn't married yet at that time. It was a few years before I got married. I was a bacher learning in yeshiva here in New York in 770. And my father was a shliach in Michigan, so he wanted to come to the Kinnes, but he has a shul, a Beis Chabad over there. So he asked me if I can go to Michigan to replace him. Okay. So we did a switch. I went to Michigan and he came here. And one of the things that I had to do was I had to give a Dvar Torah that Shabbos. And that Shabbos in the shul there was an afruf. So I have to speak about a chasana, right? Speak about a chasana. So I'm going through the parsha. Friday night, it's a long Friday night, so winter. After the meal, I sat down literally for a few hours, thinking, going through Sfarim, looking through the Rebbe Sichos. Nothing in marriage connected to Parshas Teilus. What do we have in Parshas Teilus? That Esav goes and marries Yishmael's daughter. I'm not. Wasn't very excited about drawing that comparison. Yeah. Anyway, the truth is that in hindsight, looking back 20 years later, I laugh a little at myself. Not to be able to find a connection. The name of the parsha is Eila Teilus. It's about children. So it's not. But I was younger then, and I wasn't as experienced yet in this field. And everything has to be black and white. In other words, do I see it written in the Sefer as opposed to putting various things together and making connections in a more abstract way? So then I decided, after it was getting late at night, I said, okay, I'm just going to say the Dvar Torah in the parsha, and I'm going to end off the Dvar Torah. I'm just going to wish the Mazel Tov to the Chassan and Kala. Okay. So what Dvar Torah am I going to say? So I found a sikha from the Rebbe. An interesting sikha from the Rebbe. The topic was the wells in this week's parsha. It's a bizarre story. We know Yitzchak lives 180 years. He lived longer than Avram. He lived longer than Yaakov. Avram lived 175 years, and Yaakov lived 147 years. But Yitzchak, there's not very much talking about him. There's a few parshas talking about Avram, a few parshas talking about Yaakov, and Yitzchak gets one parsha, Toilus. And even that parsha is not completely about him. And what is the bulk of the conversation about Yitzchak? Most of the conversation? That you should know. And this is very important, that we go to Shul Shabbos and we learn that 4,000 years ago, there was a Yid, our Zayda Yitzchak, and he dug a well. Came along some anti-Semitic shepherds, and they threw dirt in it and they stopped it up. So Yitzchak went and he dug another well. And guess what happened? Came along, the anti-Semitin came back, and again they stopped it up. And then he dug a third well, and that well lasted. It was Rechoivis, and Yitzchak was all excited. That happened 4,000 years ago. Why is that relevant to us today? Most of the stories that we read in the Chumash, there's some sort of moral, some sort of lesson, some sort of godless, some sort of miracle. What is this? The Ramban asks, what's this all about? If we're going to read this Kipshutai, the Ramban says, it makes no sense that the Torah is telling us this. So the Ramban says, based on the famous rule which the Ramban repeats and elaborates upon many times throughout Sefer Bereshis, the idea of Maisa Avei Siman Labanim, that whatever we read about in Chumash Bereshis, really what it is the Av is paving the roads, paving the paths upon which their descendants will walk upon centuries later, sometimes millennia later. Whatever they did, they were bringing down into this world energies which we acted upon many, many hundreds of years later. So starting from Avram, the beginning of the story, that Avram goes, there's a hunger, and Avram goes down to Mitzrayim, and his wife is in captivity, and she suffers in captivity, but then Parah is punished because of that, and he has to send off Avram and Sarah with a lot of wealth. Says the Ramban, there you go. That's exactly the road. The road was paved, and a few hundred years later, there's a famine in the land again, and the Yidden have to go down to Mitzrayim, and they're in captivity over there, and they suffer, but then Parai is punished, and the Yidden leave with a lot of wealth. So everything is just a matter of Maisa of similar Bana. So says the Ramban, the reason why we have the wells over here is because we're talking here about extremely high things. The 3 wells are the 3 Batei Mikdash. The 3 Batei Mikdash. And that's why the first 2 were destroyed, just like the first 2 Beis HaMikdashes were destroyed. And then the 3rd well was lasted forever, just like the 3rd Beis HaMikdash, which also was going to last. So the Rebbe speaks about this in Asicha, and the Rebbe talks about why the Beis HaMikdash is merumas dafke and a be'er and a well. Why didn't Yitzchak build 3 houses? The first 2 are destroyed. Wouldn't that be most appropriate? What's the significance of the wells? Anyways, I spoke about that. So at the Kiddush, after and then I spoke about that, and I wish the Chassan Kala a Mazel Tov. And then later on at the Kiddush, the Chassan walks over to my mother, and he says, "That was the most incredible speech. It spoke to me in such a beautiful, personal way, and how he managed to give over that beautiful message, so inspiring." What's a Geshan? What happened? This was his 3rd marriage, which I didn't even know about. He was a Baal Tshuva. He had been married twice, and now he had become frum, and he got married. And he was absolutely certain that this is a whole message talking to him about the 2 wells that were stopped up, and the 3rd well which lasted, which is representative of the 3 Beis HaMikdashes. And that was a very powerful and humbling moment for me. We think we're always in control of everything, but especially when you're on shlichus and you're being, you're acting as a shliach of the Rebbe, sometimes the right words and the right message just come through you, whether or not you intend it or not. So, back to the Sikha. So the Rebbe asks a question: why is it that the Beis HaMikdashes were symbolized by the idea of wells? So we know, Taka, that there's something, it's a pasuk that says it, but what is the deeper significance over here? So the Rebbe explains that there are 2 different types of bodies of water. There is what's called a mikveh, even though we use that trait to call it, but a mikveh literally means a gathering of water, and usually means a man-made gathering of water. Whether that's your bathtub or whether this cup of water. Water was taken by a human being and put in a certain place. And then there is what's called God, natural, or bidei shamayim. Whether it's a lake or whether it's an ocean, whether it's a mayan, a wellspring, which is the highest form of mikveh, because that's called mayim chaim, water that flows from deep in the ground. And then there's a hybrid. And by now, maybe that they're using that word gives away a little the connection to the Perek. There's a hybrid. What's a hybrid? Is a be'er. A well. Is a well man-made or is it natural? Which one is it?
It's both.
It's both. On the one hand, it's the human being did not bring any water there. Human being did not create the water or bring the water there. The water was always there. But through the digging of the well, you reveal the water that's existing over there. And that's why the Beis HaMikdashes are symbolized by wells, because the Beis HaMikdash is a hybrid. Where is the hybrid? V'asuli mikdash v'shachanti b'soichem. So right in that pasuk, you already see the hybrid. V'asuli mikdash, Hashem says, I want you to build it. That's bidei Adam, human made. But us building a building, or putting up to crush him, or building is not going to do anything. You have to have the v'shachanti b'soichem. So therefore, that's why the Beis HaMikdashes are symbolized by the wells. The more the v'asuli mikdash, the greater the v'shachanti b'soichem. The more human effort that we put in, the greater the kedusha. The greater the kedusha, the more permanent the kedusha, the more it becomes part and parcel of the place of the Makom HaMikdash. So the Rebbe talks about, he goes through the whole, starting from the Mishkan to the first Beis HaMikdash, to the second Beis HaMikdash, to the third Beis HaMikdash, that every single one of them, the avodah of the Yidden increased. There was more v'asuli mikdash, and therefore the v'shachanti b'soichem was even greater. So for example, in the Mishkan, yes, we made the Mishkan, but at the same time, we were led by the hand. Hashem would tell us exactly where to make it, right? Wherever the clouds landed. And, as it says, Kasher Har Esa Bahar, Hashem showed every single detail to Moshe Rabbeinu, exactly how to make it. So yeah, we did it, but we were kind of just like responding to Hashem, as opposed to us putting in our own effort and our own ingenuity, etc. And that's why the Mishkan, the Kedusha in the Mishkan wasn't as great as the Kedusha on the Beis HaMikdash. And that's why the Makim of the Mishkan didn't even become holy. When the Mishkan moved from one place to the next, the place where the Mishkan sat on did not become holy. Because it was more about a Gili Milamayla, was more of a Shachanti B'Soicham, and not so much the Va'asuli Mikdash. First Beis HaMikdash, Hashem didn't even tell us where to make it. He kept on telling you, the place I'll choose, you find it. The Sifri says, Hashem says, I need you to find it. And the Yidden had to look, and finally David HaMelech found it. There was much more effort, and in the building, and in the creating the building. The second Beis HaMikdash was even more mitzad the It was, we got permission from a goy to do it, and we went and we did it with our avodah. We were Bali Tshuva. Each one had more and more of our own avodah in it. Until finally we come to the third Beis HaMikdash, where 2,000 years of our avodah is going into the third Beis HaMikdash. Talk about how much avodah we're putting into 2,000 years of blood and tears and Mesiras Nefesh and mitzvahs and Torah under the most difficult of circumstances. We are, throughout Galus of Asuli Mikdash, we are creating the Beis HaMikdash, the Mikdash Hashlishi, as we know. Every mitzvah that we do and every time we learn Torah, we're adding another brick. And therefore, that's the ultimate Vasli Mikdash, and we will have the ultimate Veshachanti B'Soicham when Mashiach comes, the greatest oyer, because there was the greatest Vasli Mikdash. And this, let me just finish off over here, this is mamish really the Nekuda of our Perek, but we're talking about till now. Because we know Vasli Mikdash Veshachanti B'Soicham, right? Is the Maimer Chazal, the famous Maimer Chazal, B'Soichai Nemar El B'Soicham. That that every single one of us is a Beis HaMikdash. So we have to know that a Beis HaMikdash is a combination of the Va'asuli Mikdash and the V'shachanti B'Soicham. And that's what we're learning, the hybrid. On the one hand, you should know that the Ava that you have is a gift from above, V'shachanti B'Soicham. It's not, you didn't create this Ava. It's something which is a gift from Hashem. And it's there within you. But if you want to be a Beis HaMikdash, it's not enough to have that V'shachanti B'Soicham. It's not enough the fact that deep inside you have a love from Hashem, which you were given as a matana. There has to be the Vasili Mikdash. You have to have the Avodah. And what is the Avodah? As discussed here in the Perek, is this B'inah, sticking into the greatness of Hashem, and contemplating the fact how Hashem is our Father, and contemplating the fact that how Hashem is our Chaim. And when we do that, well, the more Vasili Mikdash, the more we have V'shachanti B'Soicham, and then we have the two together. Our effort together with the V'shachanti B'Soicham, the Ava, which is at the essence of our neshama, which is a gift, and together we become the Mikdash. Every single one of us becomes a Mikdash for Hashem, a place where we have Asheras Hashchina.
We see the